From training camp.
If you want a job now, you got to work hard.
To the preseason.
Scampers down to the 32-yard line.
Through the playoffs.
He's in! Touchdown!
And into the offseason.
To be able to get the best players, it's a critical time for us.
It's always Colts season. This is Colts Corner with Kevin Bowen.
And we are back. This is Colts Corner with Kevin Bowen. Day 7 of Colts training camp is wrapped up as we record this. They actually will hit the practice field later today for day 8. That'll be Monday's afternoon session, but wanted to make sure we got this to you late on Monday, and hopefully we can kind of hit that routine quite often here moving forward. I am Kevin Bowen. Eddie Garrison is across the way. Eddie, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you as well. How are you?
I am well. Crazy to think we're halfway through, and boy, you just snap your fingers, and the camp schedule really shrinks a lot here. It's really spread out for the next couple of weeks, and 3 weeks from tomorrow's roster cuts, and I mean, if you really look at it, there's only like a half a dozen practices left. Obviously, you've got the preseason games that are in there a lot between now and August 27th, but it's going to go fast here. So in today's pod, we'll recap 4 camp practices, and then we'll also play the Josh Downs interview. We caught up with the Colts wideout after one of the practices here as of late, and I think you'll enjoy that conversation with second-year wideout Josh Downs. Eddie, let's go back to kind of day 3, day 4, because at that point, Samson Ebukam had suffered an injury, and we were just waiting word on the exact severity of it. Obviously, that torn Achilles, out for the year. I would call Samson Ebukam a notable loss, and I think that's a compliment to him because the position has really highly invested depth. We mentioned it, I think, on last week's pod, Eddie. It's kind of crazy to think in that room, a 4-man position group, if you will, you have 4 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. I mean, it is a highly invested room, and yet the Ebukam loss is notable. Okay, why is it notable? He earned 3-down presence in year 1. I thought the move was very reminiscent to Danico Autry, and like him coming here and being like, man, that dude's just a quality player. Might not be the flashiest, but just
Jabal Sheard?
Quality. Yeah, even Sheard. Yeah, just a quality football player. This team has had consistent pressure issues, and I thought Ebukam provided some of that off the edge. Again, more so than Kwity Paye. And, if you look at numbers, whether it's quarterback pressures, quarterback hits, tackles for losses, Ebukam was certainly superior to Paye in those areas. And, another reason why it's notable is because you're a football team that you rely on your 4-man rush a lot. They don't blitz. The secondary is, incredibly inexperienced. Lack of effectiveness, however you want to describe it. So there's more on your 4-man grouping. So even one injury can impact it. So far, what we've seen, Eddie, is really a 3-man rotation now. Kwity Paye, Tyquan Lewis, and Latu. Kind of those 3 guys for 2 spots. Now, when Dio Dengba does come back, and again, he's missed about a week or so with a calf injury, I would think he would factor in. But certainly it's more on the plate of all of those guys. And, I don't know if it opens up the door for Isaiah Land or Titus Leo to make the roster or something like that, but it's at a position of depth. But again, because you put so much pressure on that group on game days, and because Ebukam was a quality player on 3 downs, that's why it is notable. Now, again, theoretically, the guys that are taking on more of the work are a first-round pick in Paye, a first-round pick in Latu, a second-round pick in Dio, and a second-round pick in Tyquan Lewis. Talented dudes. And I think in Dio and Kwity and Tyquan's case, all guys that have played at a nice level in their respective NFL careers. So I know a lot of people ask me, right away, hey, does this mean Latu, 17-game starter? I don't kind of view it in that light. Maybe it increases his role a little bit on the rundowns, but I still think, that is something you want his bread and butter to be the pass rush downs, and you want him to be in that role. So that will obviously be something to keep an eye on. Anything Ebukam related before we get into kind of practice-specific stuff?
No, I just thought that, as you noted last week when we recorded the pod, that it was Tyquan Lewis that stepped in when Ebukam initially went down, but things seem to have shifted just a little bit over the course of the last couple of practices, so we'll dive into that. We left off on day 3, so let's go with Day number 4, this is, of course, all your recaps are on 1075thefan.com and your daily recap videos as well on Twitter/X at 1075thefan. For day 4, Latu stands out in the full pads.
Yeah, I thought Latu, and I actually thought Kwity Paye. I thought mentioned him here because, something about Latu that stood out to me, and Paye had kind of stood out before we had gotten into the full pads, and then when the full pads came on, I thought Latu has flashed a good amount. At the time that I wrote that, Eddie, basically what I said was he's checked every box that's been presented to him in late July. There's only so many boxes you can check by late July of your rookie year. You obviously can't play in a game. You obviously haven't worn full pads in all your practices. But in all of the things you've put him in, he's checked it. And, Bernhard Raimann made a comment after one of those practices of he's even hard to block in the run game because he's so twitchy, which that really stood out to me. He had a sack on this day where he sacked Richardson twice. He beat Raimann off the edge for a sack. And then it was one of those things where he's like, oh, wait, you're still letting the play go? Okay, well, let me chase him down again. And it was the speed and the motor. I've seen both sides of it in the one-on-one drills. And, when Latu was drafted that Friday morning when we did that podcast, Eddie, I was certainly, I think, more of a fan of the pick than most. But I also made it clear, you need some early impact from him. If this is a career that's going to have some sort of debilitation around the neck, you need the early impact from him.
Yeah.
And so I think that is something important to remember. Now, what's perspective on impact? We can get into that here coming up in Twitter questions a little bit. But, a thought I had was when Ebukam went down, and as you watch, Latu and even watch Paye a little bit, does that change your indispensable Colts list? I had Buckner 4 on that list. My list was Raimann 1, Pittman 2, Blackman 3, Buckner 4, Kenny Moore 5. I continue to watch practice and think Julian Blackman should hold out, frankly, for how good he looks and how poor the other safeties look. But I really think, Buckner 4, that's the one where it's again, you've got depth there, but, Raekwon Davis hasn't practiced in, it's nearing 2 weeks now. So I do think it kind of puts just a little bit more on everybody's plate on that D line there. I think this was we're starting to get Pittman in a couple of scuffles here. I think he got into one with EJ Speed. And I felt like this was kind of the time, Eddie, where I started to notice a little bit more of the safety rotation. A little bit more of oh, wait, wow, they're starting to rotate here with Ronnie Harrison Jr. and Rodney Thomas II. And obviously, as that's played out, we continue to see it. Day 5, I thought it was Alec Pierce's best day of camp. This would have been last Wednesday. Him and A.D. Mitchell, I think the 11-on-11 stuff has been a little bit more productive here recently. There wasn't much of it through the first probably 3 to 4 days of camp, but I thought Pierce had a nice day 5. He caught a deep ball from Flacco right in front of Chris Ballard, made a great adjustment on the ball. And again, I just felt like the competition we've started to see at safety. And, when I've watched some of this competition, part of me has thought, what about Jalen Simpson at safety?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did at Auburn. And, the Colts feel like, yeah, we know he can play safety. What about some position flex? And it's well, right now, are you sure about safety? Because to me, it doesn't seem like that is a slam dunk by any means there. And, would Jalen Simpson be an option? Because, again, Ronnie Harrison Jr., he's more of a strong safety than he is a free safety. So that doesn't totally check out to me. But, again, Blackman's been the best player in camp. That to me has been, pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I observed on day 5 that I had jotted down that I wanted to make note of, at that point, and I think I still feel this way here now after watching a couple more practices. Eddie, if you showed me a depth chart and you asked me to fill it out, I would ask to fill out the tight end depth chart in pencil. But I think I know the first 2 names I'd write down. And I think the first 2 names would be Kylan Granson and Drew Ogletree.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's kind of funny. I don't think those would be the first 2 names I would have thought of, maybe, at the start of camp, or certainly back in the spring. But right now, those are the names I'd go with. Now, Will Mallory's been a little banged up here as of late, but I would probably, if you made me go 1 to 5, I'd go Granson, Ogletree, Mo Alley Cox, Jelani Woods, Will Mallory.
How interchangeable are those last three?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say in general, the group as a whole is pretty interchangeable. But yes, there is some interchanging, but I also want to make sure like there's a reason why I listed those guys.
In pencil.
Well, in pencil, but also in the order that I did.
Yeah.
So like a little conviction, but yes, again, a little faint pencil as well on that end. So again, that was something I observed. So we go back to Friday's practice, Eddie, that was full pads, and that was Latu wrecking the 2-minute drills to end the day. And, it was the second full padded day, and I love the 2-minute drill because I think it's pretty competitive. I think it's a good way to kind of end practice as well. Mm-hmm. And the offense starts out, and they get into a 3rd and long, and boom, there's Latu. I thought he beat Blake Freeland, if I'm not mistaken, on that play. And that ended a drive. So 3 and out, boom, right off the gate. Right out of the gate. Flacco comes into the second team unit. I think Matt Gay kicked like a 35-yard field goal. So they moved it a little bit there with the second unit. Starting offense comes back out for another period, and they moved it to like right around, I'd say just past midfield, kind of like fringe field goal range. And all of a sudden, Latu like just kind of helps compress the pocket, just kind of suffocates it to where the point where like Richardson's like, oh bleep, I got to throw it away. And he throws it away from the pocket. And there's officials out there, and he throws it out of bounds. And that was
intentional grounding.
So that created like 3rd and 1,000,000. And then it was to the point where, hey, we just need to check it down and get into field goal range. So they checked it down to Pittman. They actually had Spencer Schrader, the rookie out of Notre Dame, kick that field goal. He missed from 54. So your starting offense, 2 series, no points, and really Latu ended and or wrecked both drives. And like you kind of walked away in 2 different ways. I thought it looked like he beat Ryman actually on the second one and then beat Freeland on the first one, and he did it from each side. And like, again, like he just is checking these boxes and doing them in ways that are not just I beat Blake Freeland every day with my speed rush. Mm-hmm. Like, he's beaten Freeland a good amount, but like he's beat other guys. He's beat even a Braden, even a Bernard Ryman, not as abundantly or not as many reps as some of those guys. But again, he's lined up on the left. He's lined up on the right. That to me, I think is kind of what has stood out to me. So that was probably my biggest takeaway. Blackman made another interception when we were in that indoor facility. I think I tweeted out on that Friday practice, like he has been the best player here during Colts camp. So that was probably my biggest takeaway from that Friday session.
And then you noticed on Friday that he was playing both strong safety and free safety.
Correct, yeah. That interception he had with Free was like, again, him going back. And, a couple things with Blackman, I feel like when I thought to myself walking off the practice field, oh, wow, are they going to try him at Free now, move him back to Free, which he's played. But, like, some of that rhetoric, when I thought to myself, I'm like, is this like the day of Braden Smith moving to left tackle? Remember when people like talk that up a lot? Mm-hmm. Move Braden Smith to left tackle, or move Braden Smith to guard, like it's just move
Quentin to left tackle.
Quentin Nelson to left tackle. Thank you. It's like, all right, let's like pump the brakes here. Like Julian Blackman just had a career year at strong safety, and Eddie, he is now about 2 years removed from the torn Achilles. Mm-hmm. We forget the dude tore his Achilles early in his second year. So, when you hear people talk about torn Achilles, it's like year 1, okay, you can come back. Year 2 is when you really feel like you're at your normal self. Are we seeing that with Blackman? Like, are we seeing like fully healthy to where he was good last year, now he's taking it to another level? Mm-hmm. I think that's a thought that I've had with Blackman. But in-house, I kind of get the thought of potentially trying him at strong safety. Moving him to free safety, because, like, where does fatal occur? Fatal occurs over the top. Mm-hmm. Fatal occurs Nico Collins' first play of the Houston game. Fatal doesn't occur and you've missed a run fit, as a strong safety, as a third linebacker, and, 6 yards turns into 10. Like, yeah, it's not ideal, but, like, where you really get your ass beat is over the top. So
Family program, KB. Whoa.
Sorry, butt beat here, especially with kids going back to school. Apologies on that end. So that's kind of a thought. Now, strong safety, you obviously want him around the ball a lot. He's a 3-level player, and I think he can, be a really quality player. So, and I guess the other thing I would add on Blackman, too, while we're on it, Eddie, is just like, I think we're forgetting he just doesn't fall out of bed and play 17 games.
Right.
Let's play this out. Let's agree with the Colts right now. Let's agree with what they've done at free safety. Mm-hmm. Let's say Nick Cross, Ronnie Harrison Jr., Ronnie Thomas II, which that trio competing for a starting job just seems to go against everything they preach about competition, especially when you've hyped up Daniel Scott for all these offseason months and then he gets hurt and you still don't do anything about it. It's like, okay, let's just believe them for a second. It's still not a slam dunk. The dude next to them plays 17 games.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, who is his backup? And how do you play that out? Because
who has been his backup?
I mean, again, I would think Ronnie Harrison Jr., if you're going to piece the strong safety together, obviously you have some depth chart where guys play multiple spots. So that's why I would say that. But that to me is the other head scratching element, because I think in this year's AFC and this year's AFC South, it is just going to be such a game or two decides the season. And I almost liken it to the 100-meter dash we just saw in the Olympics. If you look at the dude from South Africa that finished fourth, he is a nose, a head away from being a gold medalist. Mm-hmm. And you train 4 years for that, and literally now you go home empty-handed.
Yeah.
And look at the Colts season last year. You are, in a way, you could probably make the analogy of you're very, very, very close to hosting your first home playoff game in a decade.
Yeah.
Winning a division for the first time in a decade. But yet, you don't. You're empty-handed and you're drafting 15th overall. That's how close. And I expect it to be that way again this season. I think the AFC South is actually deeper than it will. I think 1-4 is legit. I don't think Tennessee is, anywhere near this, 2-3 win pushover by any means. So, yeah, that's just a little safety rant. I did think A.D. Mitchell had a good day indoors. He had a big play early on, probably the best throw and catch him and Richardson have had in camp. He also drew a big defensive pass interference penalty on Brents. I've noticed a little bit too grabbiness from Brents and Jones. Just a little bit penalty heavy. Mm-hmm. I didn't remember that last year from them. Who's the corner that had all the penalties? Well, didn't Rock Ya-Sin have a big penalty year? Might have been his rookie year.
Greg Toller.
With some of these corners, it can be like that. I didn't feel that way about Jones last year or even Brents when he played, but I feel like they've had that a little bit. Mitchell beat Jones on a double move yesterday at practice as well. So I still think on the Mitchell-Pierce front, you're just looking for consistency from them because I don't think it's been that way. Again, I wouldn't call it great separation by any of them so far. And then yesterday in camp, again, this would be Sunday afternoon, easily the hottest day so far, 90-minute day in full pads.
Oof.
I would call it Anthony Richardson's poorest day of camp. I also think context is needed around that because Richardson's poorest day last year would be different than Richardson's poorest day this year. I think he's raised the bar with consistency from him of camp. He was 7 of 12. I mean, if you break that down by percentage, that's 58%, 59%. So that number to me can be an acceptable, it's not ideal, but it can be an acceptable number as long as you sprinkle in the playmaking.
Yeah.
As long as first off, the misses need to be no turnovers. And the 7 completions need to have a couple chunks in there. There was a chunk or two in there. What my issue was with the inaccuracy yesterday was there's been days where I just feel like he's been under siege pass rusher-wise. And then some days you can just chalk it up to good defense. Julian Blackman at the last second just bats a ball away coming from, the other hash, and you're just job well done. Yesterday, I just thought it was flat out inaccuracy. Just multiple guys are open. Richardson misses. And Richardson, I thought, was pretty visibly frustrated with his misses yesterday, too. So there were probably 3 or 4 sacks in there. Some of them was due to the pass rush. I thought some of them were just kind of coverage sacks, which, again, you'd like to get rid of it and just be more decisive a little bit earlier in plays. So I thought it was, again, the poorest day for him.
How do you evaluate those, by the way, those coverage sacks? Because we sat here all offseason saying that, they need to add something, whether that's a corner or a safety.
Right.
And they're getting coverage sacks against Michael Pittman Jr. They're getting coverage sacks against Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell, Josh Downs, and whomever's in at tight end.
Yeah, it's difficult, first off. And, we get these questions all the time. Latu looks great. Does that mean he's great or the O-line sucks? It's like that's the most difficult part of camp. It just seemed like when the protection is good, I still think comparing Richardson to Flacco, because they go right back and forth, I just, again, continue to see a little bit more decisiveness out of Flacco. A little bit of I know where it should go. It's going to come out on time. I'm not going to hold it. Now, Richardson's strength can sometimes be holding it. Because he can turn it into a weapon.
Yeah.
Of the off script. So it's a fine balance to find there. I just thought you couple the starting offense and Richardson individually, I just thought it was their poorest day. And again, the bar, I think, early in camp, almost pre-full pads, I thought the offense had done a nice job. And then I think for the last couple of days, I think the defense has gotten the better of the offense. So now we're kind of in the back third of camp. Okay, what's going to happen? I guess really they only have these days against each other because then it's the Cardinals coming in next week. So I thought that was an observation that I had. And then that's really it. Again, we're going to get, Anthony Gould continues to kind of flash. I definitely think Trey Sermon is the number 2 back. Preseason playing time was a question I asked Shane about yesterday. He said he'll make a decision midweek. Again, they play the first preseason game Sunday. If you look at last year, Eddie, not only did Richardson play 3 series, but Pittman played 29 snaps in the opener. Nelson played 29 snaps. Kelly played 29 snaps. The defense was out there for 2 series. Now, the defense was under Gus Bradley year 2.
Yeah.
The offense, of course, was year 1 with Shane. Now, remember,
and year 1 with Richardson.
Right. Buffalo did not play their starters. So I'll be interested to think, I would think Denver would want, who the hell is Denver's coach, by the way?
Sean Payton.
Gosh, I forgot it was him.
Sounds like it'll be Bo Nix.
So you would think Denver would want to play their starters. I get Buffalo not wanting to, but again, that would be a little bit, different there. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out. But, I like that Steichen played the starters last year. I think he should play him again this year. If they go off of the same script they went off of last year, that means the starters wouldn't play against the Cardinals in that second preseason game.
Or Cincinnati.
Well, last year they did play. Actually,
did they have a joint practice, though?
Yeah, they did. They had Philadelphia in that joint session. Yeah, that one they actually did. Richardson played the entire first half.
Oh, that's right.
In Philly.
Was it on short rest like it would be with Cincinnati, too?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was a Thursday night game as well.
Okay.
I think it's the exact same Thursday night, Tuesday joint practice. So, again, will the same script apply this year? We'll obviously have to see how that plays out, but we'll await Steichen to word on that on Wednesday. Anything more to add from training camp specific stuff? I know we got a good amount of Twitter questions, so we can obviously get to that. But
you're right. Saturday, Thursday.
That was last year?
Yes.
So this year it'll be Sunday, Saturday,
Thursday
on that end. And again, just a reminder, that shrinks practices. Like if you want to play this out right now, and I know not everybody has a calendar in hand, so I apologize if this is not the best thing to do visually, but they're about to practice later today.
Bless you.
Oh, thank you. August 5th, that is. That's a Monday, this afternoon. Let's assume they don't make a safety move. Eddie, they'll practice Wednesday, 90-minute. I would guess that would be a full padded, pretty real session.
To get ready for Sunday?
Right.
Bless you again. Oh, my goodness.
That was from the clouds.
That was a big one.
That one felt good. I needed that. Friday is a light hour practice, probably the lightest one of camp. And then they'll have their first preseason game Sunday. So really, when you look at it, one real one kind of left on Wednesday this week, and then this afternoon. Next week, the only practices they have next week are the 2 Arizona joint days. That's it. Then the week after that, they go to Cincinnati for the Tuesday joint, and then they have the Thursday preseason game.
Yeah.
So that's it that week. And if you look at that Cincinnati preseason game is Thursday, August 22nd. Roster cuts are August 27th. So start playing that math out. I guess they could do a practice like on the 24th or 25th. Those would no longer be open to training camp, to the public, to the media. But, like, that's really it. So when you really start to, not to, like, freak out guys on the bubble or guys trying to move up the depth chart, but obviously you have your 3 preseason games. Those speak for themselves. But if actual practices, not a ton of those. And, when you get into those joint practices, the reps are just a little bit slimmer because, you aren't going against your own necessarily there. So I think those are just all things to keep in mind on that end of it. So the schedule's really going to shrink here as we move through August.
I know this isn't training camp for the Colts, that is, but you mentioned Anthony Gould, so this just kind of came to mind. What did you think of the new kickoff rule that we were able to see in that Hall of Fame game between the Bears and Texans?
Well, 7 of the 8 kick returns in the game, which, last year, Eddie, the Colts had 9 total kick returns. 9 in the entire season. And we got 7.
Never the fewest, right?
In one, I think they were, if not the fewest, certainly at the bottom of the NFL. So, and percentage-wise, what was it, like 20% of kick returns last year? 20% of kickoffs were returned is how I should probably put it. And again, the Colts were obviously really on the short end of that. So I'm good with it. I'm all for the NBA. I'm all for the NFL, not the NBA. I'm all for the NFL exploring things to try and keep plays in the game. And also, I appreciate them putting their egos to the side and adopting a play we've seen in the XFL.
Yeah.
The NFL can be so damn greedy and so damn insecure that no, we're not going to look at that stuff. Kudos to them for doing that. I appreciate that. So, I'm good with it. The Colts continue to try a bunch of dudes out at kick return. I'll be curious to see how they do it coming up on Sunday afternoon.
Last week on the wake-up call with yourself and Andy Sweeney, your co-host, you've had a list of Colts players on, and one of them features the guy that, that we've really talked about a lot, in Josh Downs.
Josh Downs, second-year wideout. Some great stories in here. I hope you enjoy it. Josh Downs with myself, Kevin Bowen, and Andy Sweeney.
Welcome back to Grand Park. We are here after the first full padded practice of 2024. Josh Downs with us. Josh, the defense tends to hype this day up. The offense, how do you view day one in full pads?
I view it the same as any other day, honestly. It's the pads be a little tight at first, so that's the main thing. Just getting loose, you feel a little tighter, you feel a little slower at first, but once you get going, it's football. But I always got to just remember, I've been playing football since I was 6 years old, so going on 16 years, so putting on pads is really nothing new. But it's fun to just really feel like football season is here. That's the best thing.
How do you describe seeing Kenny Moore opposite you? So many reps out there. It just seems like you two, make
Go
each other better.
Yeah.
I know it's cliche, but it's just a fun matchup to watch, frankly.
Nah, it is. It's fun. Going against Kenny, top 3 nickel in the league, best nickel in the league to me. So every time I go against him, I know it's work. So yeah, I never take it lightly. I know that every rep I got to go against him. I can't have a rep where I'm like, I'm gonna run a decent route here. Nah, I know every rep got to be 100%. Every route got to be 100% because I know if it's not, he's gonna be on my back hip. So going against Kenny, it makes me better, and he really makes the game easier.
Josh Downs with us here on The Fan. Let me follow up with that. Besides Kenny Moore, we know he is entrenched there, the defensive backfield. What have you seen? That's obviously between corner and safety. There are some jobs that are kind of up for grabs, some reps that are up for grabs. What have you seen from those 2 particular units thus far?
Kenny, of course, excellent. Justin Blackman, Julian Blackman, I'm tripping. Excellent as well. Ball hawk, great safety. Ronnie Harrison as well. Ronnie's a great safety. I like all our corners as well. Jalen Jones playing excellent. He's really tall, strong, fast corner. Juju as well. I like Juju Dallo. All three of them are balling out. And then 33 as well with Micah Abraham. He came in there. He's been playing well. So I like him too. But yeah, I'd say Kenny and JB. I tell them all the time going against them is different because they're one of the best strong safety nickel combos in the league. And then Nick Cross back there as well. He's very fast, very strong. So we got a good secondary. I'm excited to see what they do this year.
It's year 2 for Josh Downs, obviously number 1 in the program. He's with us here live at Grand Park. Josh, I was hoping we could nerd out a little bit over the wideout position. We hear slot, and then you obviously have guys that are outside. Skill set wise, and I know you're primarily slot here, but what is different about lineup in the slot versus if you did line up outside?
Yeah, slot, typically the nickel more so like kind of shorter, stockier, faster, quicker guy. Similar to myself, going outside more of a tall, lanky guy, but I feel like I have the skill set to play both, honestly. I was out there doing releases with the corners 15 minutes ago, and I feel like I can do that with them all the time. So I feel like even though I play primarily in the slot, me being an overall receiver and not just like a gadget guy, it helps me because I can run routes on anybody. What
are keys? Like, if I'm in the slot, I need to focus on this. If I'm outside, I need to focus on this.
Yeah, slot, you got to weave through it. You got to weave in and out of a lot of people. Like, I'm worried about linebacker, safeties, and nickels at the same time. Like, I ran a shadow today. EJ tried to take my head off. He was a little upset about something, but
no shock there, right?
He tried to take my head off, but I dodged him. But just stuff like that. In the slot, you run it through the middle. You got dudes like linebackers. They already look at you as small. I'm ready to take this little dude head off. So I like it because they play over aggressive, make a miss, stuff like that. And then outside is more so one-on-one. If not that, maybe you get in a bracket, cover 2 cloud. But I definitely say outside more so one-on-one. It's just mano-y-mano. Sometimes in the slot it is mano-y-mano too. So you get a mix of both.
Who's your favorite slot receiver that you've watched a lot growing up? You got one?
Honestly, I would say my favorite receiver growing up was Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham. They played inside and outside, but mostly outside. I mean, I like watching both of them. I like Christian Kirk, though. Christian Kirk, very excellent player to me. Love watching him play. Cooper Kupp, excellent player. I love watching dudes like that. But I say most similar to me, probably Christian Kirk. So, yeah, Reggie Wayne always tells me to watch him a lot.
Okay.
Because he says he's a very good player.
Josh Downs with us here on The Fan on this Wednesday. You know, man, you hit the ground running last year. It looked like, I remember early analysis was it looked like you'd been in the NFL more than just being a rookie. From last year to this year, how much more comfortable are you, and why are you better this year than you were last year, do you think?
Yeah, for one, I'm healthy. Last year I kind of had like a knee issue nagging me since college, so I dealt with that the whole season and preseason. So I never really had an off season last year to get faster, stronger, more explosive. I really just rehabbed and then played the first game. So I really didn't have no time to really get better as a player. I was playing off raw talent, God-given talent there. I was blessed to play the whole season. But yeah, this year had surgery and a little scope in January. Got my knee right, and I feel excellent now. Reggie was telling me I look faster, more explosive, and stronger, and I was telling him it's just because I'm healthy. So I got to give thanks to God for that. And then 2, second year in the offense, I know things better. I'm not thinking about the route when they call the play. I'm more so just looking at what the defense is going to do. I know the play before it's even called, and then at this point it's just building chemistry with 5. Second year with him, more comfortable with him. That's my dog.
I want to get to Anthony Richardson in a second, but you bring up your health from year 1. I go back to that New England game.
Yeah.
You're limited. I don't know. You can describe it however you want to, but you only play, third downs, was it?
I only play 12 plays, 10 third downs, something like that.
Okay, walk us through that week and then the catch to ice the game. Because, when Gardner threw it, I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, is this too far? And you go full extension there. So were you always a lock to play that week? And then walk us through that play.
So really, Isaiah McKenzie was taking all the 1 reps that week. I wasn't even practicing. I was on the side. I had to do something with my knee, so I was basically not practicing all week. I was sitting on the side, and I was talking to the special teams coordinator, Joe. And he was asking me, are you going to play this week? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, don't be soft. And I was like, what? I'm like, what you? I'm like, ain't nobody being soft. I'm like, so basically we get to Germany. I'm still not really practicing or nothing like that. We get out there the first day. We get loose. I felt all right because they wanted me to. So I felt out there. I got off the plane. And then the next day, they basically took me on the side and was like, run a few sprints. And I did some ladder drills, ran 4 30-yard sprints. And Coach Shane came up to me and was like, so we going or what? And I was like, I couldn't say no. I was like, yeah, I got you. I was like, I got you 15 plays. And he's like, all right, say no more. So it was a very powerful game for me. I really just held on to my faith that game a lot. I was talking to my dad a lot, talking to the team chaplain. I prayed with the team chaplain and Sam the night before the game, long, probably like 10, 15-minute prayer, just over my knee, over health. And, that play iced the game, and probably the biggest catch of my career so far was that one. So it was very powerful to me. And, it was third down. I came in, and they ran a bracket. They bracketed me and Pitt on both sides. And scramble drill, Garner was dancing around back there, and I just went deep, and I knew he was going to throw it, and I laid out for it. So,
Do you feel the knee at all?
I ain't feel the
all
knee.
Adrenaline right there.
Yeah, not at that moment he did.
All adrenaline.
Maybe after.
Yeah.
We know you and Anthony have been close really ever since you guys got drafted. For our fans out there, something we don't know about Anthony Richardson.
Oh, that's all I don't know. Y'all know a lot. I mean, he raps. He's.
Is he good?
Yeah, he good. They play his music before practice. Everything.
Yeah.
He. Y'all know he can hoop. I don't know if he likes basketball just as much as football or more, but he loved basketball. I know he loved hooping. We was doing a little 3-point contest out there in California. I got him though. I mean, just so y'all know, I beat him. But yeah, we did a little 3-point contest out there. Yeah, AR like basketball. He like doing everything.
Josh Downs with us here on The Fan on this Wednesday. You've been back there again today when you guys did kickoff return practice. Do you like the new rule, and how much do you think you can help this team and possibly be a part of the new kickoff rule in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas Flowers dynamic returner as well, so he gonna start it. But if I gotta go back there, it is what it is. I feel like it's a cool, different kind of rule. It allows you to kind of play like a regular play. The dude's not just screaming downfield 100 miles per hour.
It was a dead play in the NFL.
Yeah,
you kick the ball off, you got the ball, yeah.
Nobody wanted to go. Nobody was trying to do that. But now, I mean, I like it. It gives you a chance to really get the ball to the 30, 40, 50-yard line, possibly break one to the end zone. So I know the guys are real excited about it. Dallas always talking about it.
Is he the best at it, you think?
I mean, I'll say he's the best at it. Yeah,
okay.
He loves kick return. He got a real passion for it. If they need me to go back there, it's 2 returners, so it could be me and him and Doolin. You never know. We got dudes back there that can go. So,
just a couple of minutes left here with Josh Downs again, live at Grand Park. First full padded practice just wrapped up. If you could take a skill set from any wideout in your room, who would you take it from, and what would the skill set be?
Ooh, any skill set. I ain't gonna lie, I'll probably take something from AD. AD got some crazy speed. AD really fast. I like it, and he got wiggle. Even though I got wiggle too, AD has a little. We got 2 different type of wiggle. I'm more quick, twitchy wiggle. 1-2, pop. AD's more of like a kind of like a noodle wiggle, but he fast too. So I would take AD. I would take AD speed, even though I'm fast.
Now,
he just
Pitt
4-3.
told us the releases of AD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, top of the route. He said top of the route releases.
I think early release and then top of the route breaking away. I think that was Pitt's answer on that.
I would take his more so his speed.
Okay.
I'll take my.
You think he's gonna be pretty good?
I think he'll be good. Yeah, but I'll take my top of the route.
What have you seen between? I know he AD and Pierce have kind of been rotating. What have you seen with that battle between those two guys? Those guys seemingly splitting a lot of reps here today.
Nah, I told Alec yesterday. I said I like this AP right here. AP's out there playing well. He's balling. I told him I'm proud of him because he's out there battling. He ain't just giving it up. So I told AP I was proud of him. But AD's an excellent player as well. So I mean, I'm excited for both those guys. They both real fast, tall. AP got really good speed as well. I should have said that. AP got real good speed as well. But yeah, they going at it, but it's a healthy competition, similar to me and Isaiah McKenzie last year. Isaiah McKenzie was like a big brother to me, so more so just like he was helping me more than anything, even though he knew like we're going at it for this starting job. So I see them the same kind of way. They're going at it, but at the same time, it's not like, hey, this is my rep, and you back up. Like, it's more so just like they just brothers out there working.
Josh, we'll end with this. Individual goals. Mm-hmm. What are those individual goals in year 2 for you? Obviously, a really nice rookie season. Are you an individual goal guy? I know Michael Pittman Jr. is. Are you an individual goal guy?
To be as good as his dad.
Yeah, no, boo.
And Jim Bob, his other dad.
No, all right.
It is Michael Pittman Jr. for those unfamiliar with that voice.
Jim Bob is his dad, and Chris Ballard is his dad as well. But anyways,
nice
for me, you feel me? For me, just I feel like if I connect with 5, everything gonna fall into place. And I feel like right now 5, he like throwing me the ball. So I would just say for me, just be better than last year and with that, I know that should explode. So
numbers come, but
numbers
you're not
gonna come. I don't want to just be like, hey, I want 100 yards a game, because then I'm gonna be focused on the individual goal. But really, for me, it's just make more explosive plays, because when you make more explosive plays, the underneath stuff opens up, the intermediate stuff opens up, because everybody's scared of the speed. So for me, just make more explosive plays and make a lot of people miss.
Thank you to Josh Downs for that. I thought in particular,
and the cameo by Michael Pittman Jr.
And a little cameo by Michael Pittman Jr. I think in particular, I really enjoyed that Germany story. Just the amount of detail he went into about playing in that game, that play. I mean, that's one of the more, I think, iconic plays of the season.
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it. So really, really cool to see that one there. So thank you to Josh Downs for that. We appreciate his time and hope you guys have enjoyed the player interviews that we have thrown in there throughout camp.
Are you ready for Twitter questions? Because we almost have 2 full handfuls.
Let's do it, brother.
8 untapped for today. Conroy gets us started. Chris Mallard keeps saying that we like our guys, but with Quandre Diggs signing with the Tennessee Titans for $3 million and the Colts having $25+ million in cap space, is that indicative that Ballard didn't even call Diggs for a price tag? $5 million would land you a pretty quality, great safety, and no call?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to pretend to know if Ballard is calling or not, but I would like to think he's got a pretty good idea of what the market looks like, especially after he watched Julian Blackmon, go through free agency and that play out as it did, and then he ended up re-signing. So, this is finances can be of no excuse, which I think is probably an age-old thing you could say about a lot of hesitancy when it comes to free agency. So, yeah, I know a lot of people it's a max value of $5 million, right?
Yes.
I think it's a base of like $3 million there. And again, finances are of no, and the other thing was like, it'd be one thing, Eddie, if you felt like, well, if we signed a veteran, we'll stunt growth. Whose growth are you stunting?
No kidding.
A 7th-round pick in Rodney Thomas II? A linebacker turned safety who's probably closer to 30 than most people would guess, and Ronnie Harrison Jr.? A 3rd-round pick in Nick Cross, who has had 2 full years with a wide-open position group to earn playing time, and he started 4 games in 2 years? No one in that room has earned the right to be in this major growth period, or no, they need the reps. They deserve it. We've invested. I mean, even Cross, he's a 3rd-round pick. It's not like you've invested significantly. And, I'll go back to something I just strongly disagreed with from Ballard in that opening presser of camp of, it might take a few weeks. It might take up to a month. This ain't college football.
You can't afford that.
Look at the schedule. You could make the case, Eddie, the strongest quarterback back-to-backs duo you have all year is right out of the gate. Stroud and Love. I think it's I want to say you face like Tua and I don't know, Tua and Stroud back-to-back weeks. Something
Allen
like
and Rodgers?
Yeah,
Golf?
Allen and Rodgers maybe. But right out of the gate, Stroud and Love. So that is what is concerning to me as well, as the quarterback. The schedule's front-loaded. It's quarterback front-loaded. It's division front-loaded. All of those things. So living with the growing pains, boy, that could be some real pain.
And he's not in the conversation of these guys yet, but he's got 3 really good playmakers. Caleb Williams is that 3rd week after those 2 that you just highlighted.
I am not writing off the Bears at all. Hell, and you know how Pittsburgh's going to be week 4. They're still going to be pesky Pittsburgh. They might not test you with the potency of some of those other teams, but they're going to be damn pesky as hell. So, I just Conroy, it is head scratching, but it can't be financial. No way.
How big of an impact do you expect from Laiatu after seeing him for a few days? Question from B-Dub.
Yeah, Eddie, I think it's probably good if we go through a little bit of rookie pass rush expectations, okay?
Yeah.
Because I think that is important to remember when what would be a good year from Latu?
8 sacks would be really good for a rookie, right?
I would agree with that. Now, Eddie, in the last decade, okay, the NFL has had 5 rookie rushers with 10 sacks or more. 5.
Ooh.
Those 5 names.
Is TJ Watt one of them?
Micah Parsons.
Okay.
Bradley Chubb, Max Crosby, Josh Allen, Nick Bosa. Pretty good football players, right?
Yeah.
If you look at like the Colts rushers, TJ Watt, a 7-sack rookie season, just to kind of go off of that.
Myles Garrett.
Did he get hurt? Did he get hurt one of those years? I don't know on that end. Now here I'm scrambling as we're getting off. Myles Garrett also 7 sacks. Yeah, he played 11 games, so he must have gotten hurt there as a rookie. Basically what I'm getting at, like it's difficult to get to 10 sacks as a rookie. And if you look at the Colts, I mean, I hate to even do this, but you have to. The rookie numbers for the Colts rushers in the Ballard era: Kwity Paye 4, Kamoko Turi 4, Ben Banigou 2.5, Terrell Basham 2. I mean, you got to go back to homeboy Jonathan Newsom.
Homeboy
From Ball State. Oh, shout out.
Homeboy.
Chirp, chirp. Colleen Bowen special right there.
Khalil
Chirp, chirp.
Mack, 4 sacks his rookie year.
Dwight Freeney didn't even start till halfway through his rookie year, and then he took off and had a huge. But, again, I bring all that up to say, we probably should just, pump it a little bit of, all right, let's, it's not going to be an abundance of numbers, but I still think the expectation should be higher than for most rookie rushers. So, you bring up 8. I think that's a good ballpark number. You know what I care about more, though? It's just the consistency.
Yep.
Can you consistently pressure? And, that's what stood out to me about the end of the practice the other day. He's got the sack in the 1-2 minute drill, but then on the next one, he has a pressure that forces an intentional grounding. That goes as a negative 15-yard play, or it should go down as a negative 15-yard play, and a loss of down in the book. That's like, A.D. Mitchell drawing the DPI on whoever it was, Juju Brents the other day in practice.
Yeah.
That's the Alec Pierce over the top, pass interference penalty. That stuff still matters. So, yeah, I mean, probably right around there. Again, I think the versatility, the ability to line up at both end spots, and the variety of moves gives him a better chance than most to make that early impact.
Aiden Hutchinson, 9.5. Kayvon Thibodeau, 4 sacks his rookie year.
A lot of good names in there that didn't get that 10 number.
King is up next. Quandre Diggs signed with the Titans, and I hear fans saying we should have made the move. But I keep hearing about the secondary getting picks in practice. You and the others are raving about Julian Blackmon. I even hear good things about Juju Brents being consistent. My question is, have you seen enough out of them to warrant us not making moves for a guy, or at least enough to get some decent sleep on Saturday nights?
Outside of Blackmon, Eddie, I don't know if I can count on a hand plays some other starters that would add up to it. And if you come out in your nickel formation tomorrow, it's Nick Cross, Jalen Jones, Juju Brents, Kenny Moore. Yeah, I don't think I can. And again, I'm not just looking for interceptions. I'm talking, notable pass deflections, kind of plays like that. Again, I think the corners have been a little grabby, so I don't even want to act like it's been a clean day. Really, Richardson, I'd have to double check. He still is close to about 70%. That's a big number for Richardson.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go back, again, AR's inaccuracy to me yesterday was just errant throws.
Yeah.
Guys I felt like were open. And, I go back to 2 things. One, what's my biggest defensive goal for this team this season? Disrupt quicker and more consistently. So, can you do that? Can your secondary aid you in that? That's a question I have. And then 2, it almost seems like we've forgotten Julian Blackmon's injury history. And even if it's just 2 or 3 games. But let's say Blackmon, what did you say that one stretch was during the season? Stroud, Goff, Rodgers.
Tua, Stroud, Williams,
Allen.
And then it was, Allen, Rodgers, and then
probably Goff is in there somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, that was the 3.
If you lose Kenny Moore or Julian Blackmon's injury history is much more, unfortunately, decorated. That would be huge in that stretch. So, again, that's where my concern comes from. And I've long said I feel better about safety than corner. I do. I don't feel great about corner, but it just probably goes to show you what I really think about safety. And that's again, I think Julian Blackmon's a super quality football player. So that's what's concerning on my end.
3 questions down, 5 more to go. Daniel, I am seeing a lot of positive feedback from Latu, but I'm not seeing any feedback about the offensive line. Does a rookie pass rusher's success in training camp say more about the offensive line or the player?
Yeah, this is the age-old question. I mean, this is what Eddie and I just debated a few minutes ago. It's why you want the Cardinals to get here as soon as possible. Things like that. I would say a good amount of Latu stuff has been against Freeland, but I do think there's been some Ryman. There's been a little bit of Braden Smith as he starts to get worked up, but that's why I think you have to remind yourself at times, and I try to point out who is the competition there. But the ease at which Latu has done some of it also stands out. Like, I don't see these are like 4 and 5 second developing sacks that he largely is making off his motor. No, I mean, it's pretty quick and it's pretty darn athletic, at least when I see it.
Patrick says, hey, Kevin, with Samson Ebukam's season-ending injury, does that blow the door wide open for Latu?
I think blow the door wide open is too big of a statement. Yeah. I mean, I think Taekwon Lewis and Dayo Dengbo are more built for the rundowns. Ebukam had, 702 snaps. So how you divide that up? Does Latu take, 400 of them, and then, does Taekwon and, Dayo eat up the rest of them? Does, is Kwity now the third down guy? Because I think in their pass rush packages so far, Eddie, again, Dayo is still out. It's been Kwity, Latu as the ends, Taekwon sliding inside of Buckner. Now, my question would be, when Dayo comes back, does Dayo take Taekwon's spot? And then, I mean, you would hope that Kwity keeps Taekwon off the field. Last year, Taekwon Lewis took Kwity snaps there late. So, yeah, that would be, I think, some things to watch.
And he produced.
And he produced, yes. I don't want to nerd out over the numbers, but trust me, Taekwon Lewis produced much, much more than Kwity Paye when you talk about a per-snap basis.
After a season-long injury, Trevor feels like many players struggle with the mental hurdle in believing that you can play a full season without getting hurt. Do you think Anthony Richardson has any lingering doubts in the back of his mind that he can be healthy in the NFL, or is he confident that he's ready to roll?
That's a good question. It's a good question, Trevor. I think Richardson's a pretty self-confident individual, but, I mean, I can't reiterate enough. That dude was in a dark, dark place after that injury. Richardson's kind of a unique cat in that, I mean, he was not some groomed 5-star quarterback. I'm going to every Elite 11 at camp every other week. That was not kind of him. So, you can look at it one of two ways. Oh, his work ethic is, through the roof, this and that. Also, is there an element of, boy, I really feel like I got to prove myself. I didn't really prove myself at Florida. It's just kind of been a lot of hype, and I playing it and doing it consistently and stringing it together, and because at this point, we're 7 days into camp.
Yeah,
he's taking every starting rep. So shoulder question issue. I mean, I guess today's a back-to-back day. But this is it. I mean, he'll have a back-to-back day next week against Arizona. But that's it. But he's been good. And they've had a spread out camp, so you would hope that. But that issue seemingly is fine. The next one that you would obviously be curious about would be, okay, what happens when, the red jersey comes off? Do you want to see him in the preseason? Because I do.
I do as well.
And let me be clear, I do outside of entertainment. Of course everyone wants to see him.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch Flacco in the preseason. But I legitimately think he should play.
Yeah, I think he should as well. I mean, it's been, I don't even know how many days or months now that he hasn't been on the football field.
Yeah, I think following a very similar script to last year would make sense. And that was about 30 snaps in week 1 and about 30, a little north of 30, I think, in week 3.
Not to mention, it's a good test run because they're playing Sunday at 1, and most of their games during the regular season are Sunday at 1.
That body clock, baby.
Oh, goodness, don't bring up circadian rhythm again. 2 questions left. Randall and Q. Randall, we'll go to yours first. What's the best trait you've witnessed from each of the rookies so far? I mean, maybe not each rookie, but the main rookies, that being Latu, Adonai Mitchell, Matt Gonzalez, and Tanner Bortolini. But any others that have made any noticeable impact, feel free to elaborate.
Okay, singular trait. I kind of like this. Well, what did Josh Downs just say about A.D. Mitchell? Give me that release, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd go with elusive for Latu. Slippery. I think Rick Venturi has called Lamar Jackson an eel before. I think that's a good description kind of for Latu. It's just, not the biggest. I don't know if he's the fastest dude, but he's just slippery. The O-line guys, again, it can be difficult to see. I will say this about the O-line guys. I've seen Matt Gonzalez, the third-round pick, at both tackle spots, and lately I've seen him a lot at guard. So I think they're really trying to get the Joe Haig. Joe Wright was kind of more the swing tackle. And now it's like, can you get a little guard sprinkled in there? Tanner Bortolini, I've seen some at center, but remember, they actually have, they still have Danny Pinter and Wesley French at center.
Yeah.
So I've seen Bortolini also playing some left guard, in some of the backup spots. Carlisle is just length galore. I've noticed the two corners, both of them, Simpson and Abraham, around the ball. Good amount early on. Maybe not as much here as of late, but I've noticed that. And I just think Gould's going to make some plays. I think Gould will have, if you set the over a 2.5 plays for Anthony Gould over 25 yards this year, I think I'd go over. I just think that Steichen's going to involve him. It might not be a lot, but Flacco and him, I bet have had 5 to 7 chunk plays dating back to the spring. So, again, you might just wait a couple weeks and the opposing team doesn't think too much of them, and then boom, you throw that in there. We probably should mention, Eddie, because it was a topic you and I discussed, and we saw this on Hard Knocks, that trade.
Yes.
Of the Colts trading up to number 6, they would have given up 15 overall, 46 overall, and then a future second, just to play that out of what those picks turned into. Just to look at it player-wise, it would have been Latu. It would have been Mitchell. You traded back from 46 to 52. That netted you a couple other day 3-ers, which turned into Jalen Simpson, Anthony Gould, Mike Abraham. And then who knows what the future second would have been. Juju Brents, Alec Pierce, Dio Dangbo. I don't know. Those are all second-round picks here recently of the Colts. So, hindsight is beyond 2020.
Yep.
When it comes to this, because Latu, I think, is now, I think if you did a poll the Friday morning after the draft versus now on Latu, I think it'd be a much higher percentage of fans that like the pick versus that might have liked it or didn't like it initially. But certainly, where I fall a little bit more curious is what does this mean for receiver moving forward? Because there was a report out there the Colts made a call on Justin Jefferson, So it's like, now all of this happened before a drafting of A.D. Mitchell. So now A.D. Mitchell and I guess Pierce, they will have a season to shift Chris Ballard's thinking. Clearly, Ballard's thinking back on the night of the draft was, we need to do something at wideout, or try to do something.
So you think it was wide receiver? You don't think it was
I think there was a lot of interest in Bowers, but I don't think it was Bowers at 6.
I think it was Neighbors because he was the only one they brought in.
Yeah, Neighbors, Romadunze. I don't know on that end. But I guess in general, it's the bigger topic now moving forward is what does this mean for offensive playmaker?
Mm-hmm.
Is this we're drafting 15th overall? That's a position that you feel like you're in striking range. Obviously, the Giants didn't want to move all the way back there. Is this a generational wide receiver class? 3 going in the first 9 is not something that happens. Hell, a tight end going at 13.
Yeah.
It's not something that happens every year. So I just think those are some things to keep in mind. Obviously, I've long been an advocate for adding a marquee wideout.
Frickin' Bowen, man.
So
always writing about wideouts.
As much as I also like taking a shot at pass rusher, this sort of idea, kudos to Chris Ballard for trying and looking into something like this. I don't look at it and think, obviously the Giants didn't want to do it. I don't look at it and think, whatever, they should have or they should not have or this or that. I think you're content with what you've got. But again, looking ahead to next offseason, just something to keep in the back of your mind.
I think it could be a little bit of a thing that the Ballard haters can look at because, there's so many of them out there. and they're still going to look at it like, oh, yeah, you tried, but, you didn't complete the job kind of deal. But you're going to be people like you and me that's like, oh, this is like, the first time where we have like tangible evidence that he's trying to make major moves, whether that's in the draft or make a splash with a Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. And yeah, again, I've said this before about Justin Jefferson. There is an element of like Mia calling, Augusta National and asking them if they have any open tee times, and I would prefer a twilight rate if possible for them. That's like calling the Vikings for Justin Jefferson.
Right.
But, I just think, and again, how much is this Shane Steichen's influence? I mean, look at what Steichen had in Philly.
Oh, yeah.
That cupboard is not bare at the skill positions.
Brown, Smith, Goddard. Yeah.
And, they drafted a tight end high in Goddard. They drafted a wideout high in Devontae Smith. Then they turned around and still traded for A.J. Brown. So I do think those are all very important things to keep in mind here, just as the Colts continue to build this thing.
Final Twitter question is from Q. I've been seeing tweets about how good Anthony Richardson and the offense has looked at times, but how much of it is our secondary not being that good, which is making everyone stand out. I wish we signed a safety, but Ballard continues to be stubborn about his own guys, so it's like talking to a brick wall expecting answers. P.S. Me and my girlfriend are planning to go to a Colts home game.
Hey now.
Thinking about Buffalo.
Ooh.
And they're coming from Louisiana.
Let's go.
Down in the bayou.
Well, I would say seeing Josh Allen in your own building. First time, right? Josh Allen has played at Lucas Oil?
Yes. Yes.
I remember Derek Anderson quarterbacking the Bills last time they were in this building. I could be dead wrong on that, but for some reason that's a name popping in my head. I think right now we pretty much have camp segmented out into thirds. I would say early on, it was really consistent for the passing offense. I would say lately, it's been a little bit more defense. It hasn't been alarming. I mean, if you look at Richardson the last 2 days, I would say the defense has won the day. And I think Richardson combined is 15 of 24? I guess that's a little bit worse now that I say that out loud. But it's not like 15 divided by 24.
Oh, this is great podcast.
62.5%. Again, you can live with that. But you need to make sure you got the splash plays. You need to make sure that you have the misses just be incompletions. And, when you say yards per attempt, that also has to be, something to where you're not taking sacks or, the scrambles aren't, 3 or 4 yards. Those sorts of things I think are all things to keep in mind. So another item I think, Eddie, as we close this out, that you have to keep in mind about evaluating people in training camp, I think past history does matter.
Mm-hmm.
And does provide context. So, when you're talking about the safety group, for example, or the DB group in general, they struggled last season. I think they were a big reason why you were 28th in points allowed. So you don't give them as much benefit of the doubt. And some people could disagree with that, but that's kind of my philosophy on that. When you're kind of trying to compare, wait, what does this mean? Does this mean that one unit's good, one unit's bad? I think that is something that you also have to acknowledge.
In that game, by the way, was 2018, the last time the Bills were at Lucas Oil Stadium.
So Josh Allen would have been in the league, right? I mean, is that his rookie year?
I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure he started immediately. Did he not?
He must have been hurt because that was the Quentin Nelson draft, right? Wasn't Allen the pick after Nelson?
Oh, yeah, he played 12 games his rookie year.
Yeah, he literally looked like he got hurt the week prior. Is that the only time he's ever been hurt?
It's got to be.
And he started 70-some games since then.
But
holy shnikes, look at this. When they were hurt, they scored 5. When Allen was out, they scored 5, 6, and 9 points.
Yes. I was getting ready to get to the box score in the game.
Dear Lord.
Do you have the box score of this game pulled up now? Okay, good. Do you know who the leading receiver in that game was?
For the Colts?
The game. So
in the entire game?
Entire game.
Dontrell Inman.
No. This guy's not even in the NFL anymore. Kelvin Benjamin.
Wow. Shout out to the Florida State Proud of Kelvin Benjamin.
Andrew Luck threw for 4 touchdown passes. Can you name the 3 players that he threw touchdowns to?
He threw one to Doyle. He threw one to Quan Bray. No. I have no idea here. He threw one to Levon Brazil. Inman's wrong.
Correct.
Hilton.
Yes, 2.
Doyle was right.
No. Hilton was correct. 2 of the 4.
I need 2 more.
Yes.
He threw one to Marlon Mack.
Yes.
And he threw one to Mo Alley Cox.
Ooh, you're in the right position group.
Who? Who's the tight end?
Eric Swope.
My other guess is going to be Ross Travis. Remember that name? I forgot about Swope. Swope had a big little run there, I think, a little bit during that 2018 season.
Yeah.
All right, Eddie, that wraps it up. Thank you to Josh Downs. Thank you to Eddie Garrison, Kevin Bowen. We are signing off. Colts Corner with Kevin Bowen. We'll be back next Monday recapping a football game, preseason game. 107.5, thefan.com has got all your camp coverage.